Ethical sensitivity to animals has been pioneered by individuals across the world. Some of those individuals you know, like Gandhi or John Wesley, but most of them you don't know. And so what we've tried to do at this year's 9th annual Oxford Animal Ethics Summer School is to dig deep into the topic of animal thinkers. We're here again at Merton College, Oxford, and we're in partnership with Susan and Dan Boggio, Kimberly Moore, the Kirkpatrick Foundation, and Unbridled Sanctuary. And we're all here focused on the idea of looking at our past, looking at the pioneers of our movement and asking, what can we learn from them that will help shape the future?
I think we can learn two things from the animal thinkers of the past. Thinkers can do a whole range of things to kind of break down the speciesist binary, and through looking at the way they talk about animals and the way that they grapple with the unusualness of fronting them as a subject in and of themselves, they confront the difficulty of doing so.
We feel like we're up against billion-dollar industries. It's easy to be disappointed with the results that we've seen. But it's also important to remember that a lot of people have come before us.
As an animal lawyer, a lot of the work that I do involves precedent, involves drawing on histories of what's gone before. When we have a problem this big, and it is a big problem, there's no sense in doing it only one way or from a limited perspective. So the more previous thinkers we can draw on, the more previous perspectives, different disciplines, I would argue the better off we are.
And one thing we've been discovering at the school is that there's a lot of unknown animal pioneers who seem to have instinctively put a finger on something that was very important.
The thinkers and the pioneers within the animal movement, they are really leading us to where we need to go and why we all need to be some type of pioneer. Everything we do will have an impact for later.
These pioneers are willing to put their heads above the parapet and say, people might think me odd, but the animals deserve this. Or as Andrew said to me once, do it for the animals. And I think that's a great inspiration.
My paper this year at the summer school is about John Wesley, who we consider to be the founder of the Methodist Church around the globe. But what most people don't know was that Wesley rode over 225,000 miles on horseback around the United Kingdom, controlling the horse only with his weight, his knees, but most importantly, his relationship with the horse that he was riding.
My presentation concerned Henry Salt, late Victorian, early Edwardian animal thinker and animal activist who created a unique ideology of humanitarianism. He proposed political rights for animals.
My presentation dealt with the views of Alfred North Whitehead, who's important because he offers an alternative to both dualism and reductionistic materialism in the explanation of nature. It's a view that's more congenial to a consideration of animal interests and animal rights.
My presentation was on Jürgen Moltmann, the theologian, who is credited with thinking charismatically about our eschatological future. What does the animal future look like in the new heaven and the new earth?
My presentation at the summer school was about Johannes Ude. He was a Catholic priest and thought that not eating meat, not eating animals, not eating flesh is the better option and the more Christian and more loving option. He refused to follow the dictates of his own religion, so we have to do the same.
I've been presenting about a Benedictine monk called Dom Ambrose Aduse. His life's work was really devoted to understanding the relationship between the Catholic Church and animals. So he wants to challenge the Church whilst remaining faithful to the church. And that's why I like him, because that's where I find myself.
So my research this year focuses on the pioneering efforts to obtain legal personhood for animals. Steve Weiss spent nearly 3 decades examining the laws all across the United States. He actually lost his case. Paving the path is far more important long-term, because the dissenting opinion set forth all of the grounds in the legal thinking as to why animals should be granted legal personhood under the law.
I introduced a Chinese writer and artist, Feng Zikai. So he is well known in China for his animal advocacy. He wanted to use the art form to express his political criticism.
I've been presenting the research of the French semiotician Astrid Guillaume, which is a professor at Sorbonne University. She was a pioneer in France in semiotics related to animals. She legitimates this topic, which was at first for most of researchers, they were a bit afraid of being ridiculed.
I've been speaking about a vegetarian hat maker and early theologian Thomas Tryon. He had during his apprenticeship a divine revelation where he realized he needed to forbear from eating flesh or fish. From that proceeded a whole vegetarian philosophy, and ultimately offers vegetarianism as a kind of panacea to the world's ills.
This year at the summer school, I've been speaking about a Canadian senator named Murray Sinclair. He's an Indigenous senator from Manitoba. He chaired what's called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is the process that we underwent to look at the history of residential schools impacting Indigenous communities, removal of children from Indigenous families. So people know him in that context, but they don't know so much about his animal protection work.
I've been talking about kindness. If we drew on the resources of this Protestant tradition to normalise kindness towards others, towards animals, in the case of animals, it would go a long way to challenging the cruelty, which is the very opposite of kindness.
I decided to present 3 animal thinkers that have really made a significant difference in Egypt. We're very behind, in a way, in how we treat animals. The animals are really mentioned many, many times in Islam, and mercy is central to Islam. So, well, it's there, but it's not advocated, it's not implemented. So for me, looking at the animal thinkers and what they do and how they do this was really important.
I think that we have to remember that every generation has to fight for a better world. It's a fight that never ends.
I think what the pioneers teach us is to realise that the witness is worth it, because we are moving. We're moving slowly, but there is hope.
None of us is going to fix the animal problem, right? I mean, it's going to be all of us building on the academic research and asking, how can I take this further? What is the next logical step?